Hi friends and new friends, I'm Tav Satoshi and you're watching Cash Alternative TV. Well, today I had the pleasure of talking with Scott Farnsworth. Scott's a pilot who specializes in airplane racing and airplane acrobatics. And he's also the CEO of Aircraft Wraps. And he's proposing to the Dash network to change the name of his company to Dash Aerosports. And he wants to celebrate the synergy between high-speed racing and Dash's Instant Send with instant payments. And he wants to do a full marketing campaign with his two aircraft. He's going to deck them out from head to toe in Dash logos. And then he's going to dive in heart and soul into Dash marketing. So, without further ado, I have my interview today with Scott Farnsworth. Hope you enjoy. So today I have Scott Farnsworth with me. He's the CEO of Aircraft Wraps, and he's made an interesting proposal to the Dash network. And we're going to talk about it today here on Cash Alternative TV. So welcome to the show, Scott. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I truly appreciate the chance to share my vision with everybody else that's watching.
So you're in an interesting line of work, you might say, to say the least. Do you want to share it with the viewers and tell us how you got involved with it?
Well, I'm fortunate that that I am able to fly some of the most sophisticated and high-performance aircraft everywhere from Europe over to China in formation teams, as well as aerobatic competitions. And my true passion is air racing, low-level, closed-course pylon. And I specialize in multi-aircraft racing, as opposed to most people would think of like Red Bull. Red Bull, you race against a clock, and I've determined that I'm not good against racing against a clock. I'm better at racing the person as opposed to the clock.
Very cool. So how did you get involved in that line of work? It's very exciting.
Well, ever since I was 5 years old, I always looked up in the air. And people ask, how did you ever get interested in aviation? I never got interested in aviation. It's as if I, started walking over to my parents' piano and started playing the piano, and then I became, a concert pianist. I used to ride my bike to the airport, and then eventually I convinced people to let me wash their airplanes. And by washing their airplanes, eventually through a friendship, they would let me go flying with them. And then I could work the radios, and then eventually I could fly the airplane. So I flew my first trip from Santa Barbara to San Diego through some of the biggest airspace, LAX, at 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm 41 right now, and that was the start, and it's been a great time ever since. I was the youngest pilot at my first airline at 22 years old. And I was the youngest pilot hired at my current major airline at 29 years old. So at 41, the seniority has allowed me to quite a bit of freedom in my life.
Okay. So yeah, that seems like to be the ultimate dream, taking to the skies and leaving your troubles behind. I watched the video that you put to the Dash network, and it's just very exciting, with the music
Yes.
and everything.
Yes.
I bet you crank that up while you're going over there.
I try to, when I do a video, I try to utilize the music that I was using at that time, because I actually do fly differently depending on the song that I'm using. Just like a dancer, if somebody has a good beat and they're dancing to it, as the music changes, they'll change. And I do the same thing with my flying.
Okay, so give us a background on the company that you had, Aero Wraps. What's that all about?
It's Aircraft Wraps. Fortunately, I've been propositioned by an investment group to take over Aircraft Wraps. So that leaves me with a significant amount of time to branch off into another sector, hopefully being the Dash Aerosport team. Aircraft Wraps was founded by myself. I wanted to race and do aerobatics, and I was watching a NASCAR race, at which time they were talking about how much lighter vinyl was at that time than paint. So what I did was say, well, I want to go faster and I want a lighter airplane because that means more performance. So I approached everybody from Dallas, Texas to Savannah that knew anything about vinyl. and nobody would do it for me. And they actually told me I couldn't do it, that you can't do that to an airplane. Well, I grew up flying. At that point, I was 33 years old, and mentally, I couldn't really wrap my head around why you couldn't do it to an airplane. It just takes effort. So I analyzed the situation. I developed my own process. Just at the same time, my friend, about a mile and a half down the road, had just retired as an aerospace engineer, early retirement from Pratt & Whitney. He worked on scramjet engines that go about Mach 5. And I said, hey, I want to wrap my airplane in vinyl. You want to help me do the process? So we spent about a year in the garage. I mean, it's honestly, I actually had somebody call me and say, this is very much like when you heard about Apple Computer being formed in a garage. That's really how we did it. We didn't think about it at the time, but we formed this this business in the garage, and a friendship. Obviously, we still fly together all the time. And then that grew into a company. When I started flying my planes, people would say, that's a beautiful paint job. And I'd say, there's no paint on this airplane. And I got called a liar a few times, at which time I would have to take them over and show them some seams, because I hide the seams not only from aerodynamics, but from my customers. So we had a great reputation. Number one thing is I'm a bit of a fanatic. So if the installers didn't do it correctly, I always told the installers, take your time. It's okay. You know, we're not in a rush. Yeah, it can be done. But as soon as it leaves the airport and goes away to Virginia or to California, fixing something that has gone wrong becomes exponentially harder. But I'm going to do it because my name's attached to this company. So I had, over the years, of course, things happen. So one example is Sid Mayu, who has a 2-seat airplane, little, aerobatic plane, and he had an issue in Texas. I called him up and I said, I'll be there tomorrow. I put two rolls of vinyl under my arm and got on American Airlines, arrived in Dallas. He picked me up. I went to his hangar and he said, this is the problem. I personally fixed it because being the owner, I always consider it, I must know how to do the product. So I fixed his problem. He drove me back after buying me lunch, and then he asked me how much I was going to charge him. And I told him, Sid, you already paid me for a wrap. I'm just completing the job. Of course, it took me going out to Texas in person to do it. But that's probably because, you have to assume a responsibility, even if it's somebody that's working under you.
Well, I'm hearing a couple of good things there. I'm hearing that you have that stick-to-itiveness, which is good. A lot of people give up after the first try, and you stick by your product. And the other thing I'm hearing is that you're working in the kind of job that you enjoy doing.
Oh yes, and it is so cliche that you have to do what you love. But I've taught myself that is really it, because you will not work 23 hours in a day if you don't love it. But you can't pay somebody enough money to do something for 23 hours a day. Eventually, they just say, you know what, it's not worth it. I made enough money already. But if you love what you're doing, creating something, building something, I loved building the brand of Aircraft Wraps because it was a true brand and it was a representation of myself. So I have a background in building that brand. I enjoyed it. I would work till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. Eventually, the installers worked for me. I understand it wasn't their baby. I understand that. So eventually they would say, okay, I don't care if I'm getting double time. I need to go home. Okay, you go home. But I told my customer that he could have his airplane at 8 a.m. So I have personally been in that hangar on the floor wrapping airplanes at 2 a.m. as the owner of the company, because I've told somebody that I was going to do it. And I've provided testimonials, but I'd be happy to provide as many as anybody would like to know, because I cherish the reputation that when I say I'm going to do something, if I've said that I'm going to do it, I've already analyzed it and I will come through and make it happen, or else I wouldn't have ever said it in the first place.
Okay, well, that kind of segues into our next point, where you and I are kind of the same that way, where I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and that's building the Dash Nation around Dash, the cryptocurrency. And I really enjoy doing that. That's why I'm talking to you today. That's why I do interviews with people. I'm just very passionate about it. And sometimes it takes time away from my family, but that's just some of the sacrifices that you have to make. So, and speed is the name of your game when it comes to being in airplanes. Yes. And speed is also the name of Dash's game. where they have the instant transactions. So it's almost a marriage made in heaven there.
Yes. Well, that's actually what you just said right there. Is I was sitting on the couch, and I'm, how we surf around on our laptops, and I'm looking at some stuff. I'm looking at some proposals on Dash Central, and I'm just, looking at what people are saying, and the amount of people that are attending based on the investment by Dash. And I've been doing air shows and air racing now for 5 years. I know exactly to the dollar what it costs me to operate the jet airplane for 5 days at the race. I know exactly. The only time that it changes is when we go and do media rides or press releases, or for instance, last time, Flying Magazine is a national publication, and we took the lead editor up for a virtual reality ride where she was in a turboprop, $1 million turboprop, and I was above them in the extreme air, inverted, Top Gun style. And
wow.
we actually have that on the virtual reality experience. I'll be releasing that on the Dash forum as well as Slack. I've been holding it back, if you can tell. When I first approached, we had about a 50-50 split because everybody thought that I was just talking about flying past people as fast as possible. Well, that's not the case. About 12 minutes at an air show is actually in the heat of the battle. At the air races, we fly about twice a day, and each time's about 32 minutes. The rest of that 10-hour day, 12-hour day, as you can see from our pictures on the forum and so forth, we create basically a pavilion with the vehicles and the enclosures, and we create an area where we can have people in there and discuss our products. This year, there it is. My Radar was our primary sponsor.
Okay.
And we were able to discuss My Radar with brand new adopters of the apps. Obviously, it's actually a very popular app. If anybody hasn't tried it yet, it's actually the best, in my opinion, single touch, high definition weather interface on a smartphone that you can ever get. So it's really easy to represent products that you believe in.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm doing the discussion of a sponsor, and so that's where I am.
I just want to back up a little bit and say, so how did you get involved with Dash in the first place? I know you're passionate about Dash, but we need to know how you became involved.
It started with I started trading stock when I was 15 years old. I was in a typing class, and my teacher said, "Everybody, put down your typing. We're going to discuss what compounding interest is." At 15 years old, he taught me what compounding interest was. I asked my dad if he would buy FedEx stock. I still remember the first stock. That started my passion into finance. As I discovered more about finance, I discovered exactly how the system works, which is horrible for us, me, and I have 3 children. All 3 of my children are homeschooled. Nowhere else in the public school system do you teach finance. At my house, we teach finance. And of course, we've covered Bitcoin. And, I started with Bitcoin because I was teaching my kids about it. And we learned how to purchase it and so forth like that. And I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, I think most people get started with Bitcoin because that's the name.
Absolutely.
And so Bitcoin goes into this exchange, and I'm sitting there, and then I transfer it to, actually not an exchange, Bitstamp. I don't know what you classify that. And then of course, I transfer it in, and my buddy starts talking about these altcoins. And so, I develop a portfolio of altcoins, and I make some money. I make a lot of money out of that. It was very impressive. So, and that was before I even started researching. So I started researching as I'm digging around and everything. There's coins that, you can buy that somebody has created an ICO that someday they're going to actually do a movie, and then you'll get some kind of profit out of that. Just an idea. There's nothing backing behind that. So, of course, now I want to start finding best in breed. I start going down the list. And I did have Dash at that time, but not because I knew what I had. And of course, my research started taking me into what we all know makes Dash: the infrastructure, the marketing, the reward system, the governance. Number one, too, is, I guess the best way for me to describe this is going from Darkcoin to Dash, I saw this entity that is Dash. I saw them starting to recognize that for mass adoption, you have to have a friendlier tone. You have to have a branding image. And the blues and whites, I don't know if you know who my primary employer is, but it was actually Dash during their reviewed my company. And I tell you what, any of your viewers, the first one to say which company that is, I'll tip them 0.02 Dash.
Well, there you go. There you go, viewers. There's from Scott to you, 0.02 Dash, if you can guess it.
First one that gets it, we'll get in contact, and I'll tip you for that. So
awesome. Yeah, that's important to Dash, you know, and that's why I started the Dash Nation concept. You know, if you want to have mass adoption, you have to definitely have a group of people that are passionate about it and want to promote it to everybody and believe in it. That's the bottom line. You don't want to be like snake oil salesman, like you say online, you know, like you want to know that this product is going to be helping people, and that's why, you know.
So our director of operations, who I just announced right before we started this, has actually got No Coast Productions, the company that's responsible for Gas Monkey Garage. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a reality show based on muscle cars and changing cars out. So we'll have a conversation with them tomorrow about running the Dash Aerosport reality show. They'll probably name it something else, but I will make sure that Dash, if we do come to an agreement, is always represented and very visible everywhere we go. Because I've always thought that storyline advertising will come over somebody telling you, go do this, go do this. Mm-hmm. I don't want somebody to tell me to go do this. I want them to tell me why they're doing it. And as they're sitting there filling up their jet airplane that just went around the track, and they whip out a Dash debit card and they pay for something with actual Dash, now they start to understand and comprehend that this isn't just something that lives in a computer. So yeah, I've become a bit of an evangelist. And my director of operations, actually what I was talking about, he's a week ago, you know, he knew what we were doing, but he didn't really get into it. And I basically put him in charge of pitching this and finding this reality show media. So he got really into it. Now he wants to get machines and start mining. And
wow, really?
Yeah. How do we get to the, you know, how do we get a node and all that? It's funny. I just got off the phone with him. I'm like, calm down. Let's focus on what's at hand. And then we'll step through and we'll set you up with your machines and all that stuff.
It really is cool, man. Like it's almost like a lifestyle change, you know, like when you come into this world, there's a guy named Talk Normal. He's a Bitcoin, he's a Dash community member. And he posted that to have nodes in Dash is fun. Like to have nodes anywhere else is like not really that fun, you know, like you don't have that backup and that support and that group of people that are there to say, okay, this is how it's done. And we have that in Dash and it's great.
Well, I'm actually watching it as every time I get on the ground and check the master node tally for our proposal. In the comments, I absolutely love this. Is that we are right now, I think we just broke 400 votes, but the people that are abstaining from voting is minimal compared. Actually, it was 0 yesterday. I think there might be 3 right now, but it's engaging people. There's the community of Dash is seeing this proposal and they're recognizing one way or another, you know, it's the community has decided to fund or not fund. That's okay. Maybe we need to revise our stuff and at a later time come back. But I like the engagement of the community, whether they love us or hate us.
So that's the background. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes of your actual proposal. So what is it that you're proposing to the Dash network?
To run the entire Dash Aerosport team. You guys have, the community has seen the videos, the pictures. Those are my airplanes. The air race, Reno National Air Races in the middle of September. I'm actually going to be traveling out to Reno the first week of June as well. So hopefully we get approved and we'll start the social media push, because I'll be racing the jet around in what we call pylon race school. And I am a veteran racer, but this is when we get to come out and mess around with the rookies a little bit and push them around. So there's some great video. We don't have the We don't have the 250,000 crowd up in the stands, and we don't have the Fox Sports Network, but we do have every single photographer, professional photographer, local print media, the Flying Magazine, which, like I said, they come out, they do their interviews. I've always been able to kind of suggest that we might be a good storyline. So
that's cool. That's something that you just mentioned today too, with the reality TV show. That's something that never even came up before. That's just like icing on the cake. That's really cool.
No, I've actually been thinking about this reality TV for, and there's somebody that we have both talked to today that I entrusted with a secret regarding this. And I appreciate his secretiveness, or at least keeping it to himself, because as I had said, I don't want to ever put something out there. And I quite clearly said, we're going to have a phone call, and that's the first step. But I need to at least have that hook to where we can have a phone call before I go out and tell people we're going to have a reality TV show. The phone call is the first step.
All right. So the obvious parts of this proposal is we're going to have the Dash branding on the airplane, and people are going to see it going through the sky, doing twists and turns and all kinds of cool stuff. Yes. And that's going to be representing Dash in the instant transactions, Dash Nation, Dash Force One.
That's right.
So give us like a little bit of background onto the other stuff that kind of goes behind the scenes while the downtime out of the air.
Well, as I've discussed, and I want to thank the community I extended my 888 or 800 number for aircraft wraps on Sunday, and I received some wonderful, supportive phone calls, and I really appreciate that. I'm absolutely ecstatic that we have that kind of support. So, yes, we are in the air, but like I said, that's a very short amount of time of the day. The rest of the time, the plane gets parked there. That's, of course, the eye candy that brings people in there. For my radar, we did do a virtual reality experience where we took an IMAX quality 360 camera, and we created 2 cockpits in the bus. One side of the bus was one cockpit. The other side of the bus was another cockpit. We had the Blue Angels in there. If you go on my Instagram, Aircraft Wraps at Instagram, you can see the Blue Angels actually critiquing my dogfight, because we are dogfighting. I picked on a former F-16 pilot that had bought my original airplane that I built in my garage, and now I'm in the extreme. And I have to admit, don't mess with a F-16 pilot. Thank goodness I had horsepower in my airplane and I was able to win. But as far as skill set goes, he had me in the dogfight. But then we also do what's called running the rocks. And I want everybody to try that out. I'm at 20 feet doing 230 miles an hour, and it's virtual reality. So when I post these, please pull out an iPad or an iPhone and do it that way, because you can actually move around with it. You can use your desktop as well, but you'll have to use your mouse. And at that point, you can surf through the rocks with me right there with some nice music. And that's the kind of stuff that we do to get people in, right? We get them in. So how much is that virtual reality experience? It's nothing. But if you let my friend over here help you set up your wallet, and then we'll seed you with some Dash money. After we actually have that, you're part of the club, go on in there. And by the way, once you get done with your virtual reality, come over here and see what we have. Look at this. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is what we're trying to do. You can send this money now that's on your wallet. This isn't fake stuff. We're not saying what it will or what it won't do. It's on your wallet. You get to decide what it is. And that's the beauty part.
So you plan on having boots on the ground by your airplanes and getting people into Dash? Okay, that was one thing I didn't know.
Yes, at Sun and Fun Sun and Fun Air Show is the second largest air show in the country, Oshkosh being the largest. Oshkosh has 800,000 people walking around. It's a 4 to 5 day event. Can't even remember. I just got done with Sun and Fun, and it was 5 days, and you're in Florida, and it's very sunny. And if you look at the pictures on our Instagram and our Facebook, you'll see I got pretty red, but I'm wearing my cowboy hat, so I'm keeping the sun off my head.
Very good.
Note on that is obviously I'm not wearing the cowboy hat, but when I'm in air show mode, I go into the crazy cowboy persona, just having a good old time. Let's go do some crazy stuff with airplanes. Come over here. Let's talk about the airplane. Of course, while we're talking about the airplane, we're sponsored by Dash, and this is what Dash does. We always put that in there, and we try and get them to take pictures and hashtag Dash on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's where it's all at. And then also, not to I'm sorry, but the news articles for Sun and Fun were amazing because we had a top tier, or as I call it, top tier experience with the virtual reality.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so it sounds like a really fun time. It's a good representation for Dash, because they're getting into the Dash community is fun, and you're going to give them a fun experience there.
Yes.
So,
well,
let me ask you something. How many air shows would there be over the course of a year, or is there other events too besides air shows?
There's an air show. There's in one weekend over what's called air show season. So right now we're in racing season and we're getting ready for Reno. And then December 4th, I'll be attending in Las Vegas the ICAS convention, at which time I put my Dash booth together, and I have my helmet, sitting over here. I have my flight suit, and now Roanoke, West Virginia has an air show on this day. They come to my booth and ask me questions about what I do. And for us, which is very unique, we're the only ones that will be able to do this. I can provide them either with a racing jet that I can perform an air show with, or I can do what we call the flipper, the extreme air, where we're tumbling through the sky with all kinds of smoke. So it provides the show, which asset do you want? I can fly in both. And I'm one of 3 pilots on the entire planet that races and flies both props and jets in the way that I do. Wow,
good for you. So you're very passionate about Dash, and you want to help us promote it, eh? So that's great to have you on board here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I helping you promote it is the way that we're going to get to number 1. I'm a very, very competitive person. As soon as Dash dropped to number 8 yesterday, I was already formulating plans on how we can make this. Okay, what kind of marketing campaign can we do? Because I want to go to 7. I'm a racer, and I'm sorry, but if you're number 2 or number 3, you're not number 1. And somebody might roll their eyes, but I can tell you, I have a long history of accomplishing things that people roll their eyes about. I'm the one that actually wrapped an airplane completely in vinyl and started an entire business off of that when everybody else told me that I couldn't.
Okay, sounds like you're the perfect person for the job.
Well, it's just who I am. It's what I do, everything in life. I train jujitsu, and if I'm not holding up to my end, I'll train jujitsu 3 times a day, 6 days a week until I feel like I'm at the level that I should be at. But that's also why I'm an unlimited aerobatic pilot. I routinely pull 10.5 Gs in my airplane. If you tell anybody else 10.5 Gs, they'll probably call you a liar. I have pictures all over Facebook and Instagram of 10.5 Gs. And you don't do 10.5 Gs just by jumping in the airplane. You have to go 7.5, 8.2, 9, and you build up, and you have to build your tolerance to it. And it's a little painful. So,
I can see it now. I can see the commercial, your plane going shoom, and then you see the speed of an instant send transaction,
Well, that's
the two, would just marry so perfectly. It'd be great.
Yes. And we're actually, the logo on your shirt, I'm already starting to mentally practice how I'll do it. I was going to start from the bottom and come up into a reverse C, come back around and try and get that dash with the smoke. Mm-hmm. But I think actually what I'm going to do is start inverted. I'm sorry, I'm looking at your shirt as I'm talking about it. Yeah, exactly. See, perfect. Mm-hmm. So I'll start inverted. That way I don't lose energy, and we'll keep it fast. And I'll pull down to the 90, hold it, 3-second count, pull to another 90, 3-second count out, and then do a really quick split S to form that other dash. Not that I've been thinking about it or anything.
I feel like a kid in the candy store. No joke. This is so cool.
Well, think about this. What other digital currency? Any digital currency is supporting their own jet and unlimited aerobatic team.
Yep. Dash Nation has their own Air Force.
That's right. Talk about legitimacy in cryptocurrency. Actually, I was watching one of your interviews. There was 2 very interesting gentlemen, Fluffy Pants or something like that.
Yeah. That was a classic.
They were talking about sponsorship and what sponsorship would do, and they were in Miami. I'm in Palm Beach. I can actually coordinate legally to fly over that convention of the cryptocurrency as they're sitting there bad-mouthing our Dash.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show, man. If somebody's watching this and they still don't have all the answers that they might want, how would somebody be able to get a hold of you in the future?
Well, currently it's Scott, SCOTT, at aircraftwraps.com, and you can do that. Of course, I'm hoping with the funding, Aircraft Wraps goes away, and we become Dash Aerosports. And I will stay with Dash as long as they will have us, and we bring value to the team. And I plan on, in 6 months after this, coming to the Dash community and saying, did we provide value? Yes, we did. Now, here we go. Let's do this again, and let's keep going until we're number one. That's it. Number one. That's all I can think about. I don't worry about fourth, fifth, sixth, anything like that. I want Dash to be number one. And I'm just going to be marketing what everybody else has already created. I'm just stepping in to show people what is there. You can create the most amazing toy, but if you take it and you sit it in a closet, nobody will know about how amazing your toy is. You have to bring it out into the sunshine. Right now, Dash is a genie in a bottle, and we all know that the genie's ready to come out. Once it does, that's when the magic happens.
All right, Ben, you're also on the Slack, right? Dash Racer is your Slack handle?
That's right, and that's yours, right?
I'm Tao.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I've never actually used that interface before. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I started that one. That's also a part of the Dash Nation initiative to get people on the same page with things, have an area to communicate and stuff, and it's worked out really well.
Yeah, I do have to say, because part of cryptocurrency was keeping to yourself for me. So to just put myself out. I have to say, I was waiting for a lot of negative feedback, and yesterday, and actually just now, I was on Slack, and the comments, it's just a very positive experience, and it's something that excites me to be part of, because I can create something, and I have a whole team, a whole nation, Dash Nation, behind me to support me. And come out to the air show, and we'll make sure that you are treated like a VIP, because you're an early adopter of Dash.
Sounds good. So we got air shows, we got airplane wraps, and we got reality TV, and a very confident Scott Farnsworth. So thanks for joining us, man.
I'm an air racer. I'm sorry. When I see what I want, I push the throttle forward and go and never stop.
No.
So.
Yeah, well, I hope this interview has changed the minds of some people who may have voted no, and would make maybe some people make them vote yes. So thanks for being on the show, and good luck with your proposal.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just wish that anybody that has voted no at this point gives us the opportunity to show them what we can do. Because, like I said, as we push through, you'll be amazed at what we can make happen. I mean, tomorrow I'm on a phone call regarding a television show to put a Dash logo, hopefully on everybody's television set. Not to mention the Fox Sports Network that'll be airing 3 hours of our Reno air races.
All right. We'll leave you on that note. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
And that was my chat with Scott Farnsworth. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more from me in Cash Alternative TV episodes. Until next time, remember, Dash is a digital alternative to cash, and becoming more so every day. Bye for now.